This is Living Power with Dan Hurst.
The second radical thing that Jesus did at the Pool of Bethesda was that he broke the rules and traditions. Notice what the end of verse 9 says. We've just seen this verses 8 and 9. Jesus said to him, "Get up, take your bed and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his bed and walked. Now that day was the Sabbath. Uh-oh. Problem. Tradition. Rules. You don't want to get people all upset. You certainly don't want to get all the preachers upset, because you know what they're like. That violated the rules and traditions, not only of the religious leaders, but listen to this, also it violated the rules and traditions of this invalid man. Remember, that was his rule and tradition. That was what he did every day. And for Jesus to come along and say, "Get up and get going," violated his tradition, violated his rules. You see, the invalid man was waiting for somebody to carry him into the pool at the right moment. That was his rule. That's how he expected things to work out, if they were going to work out at all. But Jesus bypassed all of that because the solution wasn't about rules and traditions. That was his rule. That's how he expected it to work out, if it worked out. But that wasn't how God saw it. The solution was about the grace and power of God. It always is. It's not about what you think it's the way it's going to work out or it should work out. It's about God's grace and power, how God sees it, what God intends to do in and through your situation. And the man is immediately healed by God, and he does something amazing, yet completely at odds with the rules and traditions. He picks up his bed and he walks. It was a clear violation of one of the main commandments as far as the religious leaders were concerned. In Exodus 20, one of the 10 commandments, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you'll labor, do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, or your son, or your daughter, or your male servant, or your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. In other words, on the Sabbath, the holy day, which would be like our Sunday, on the Sabbath, you are to do nothing. That was the rule. That was the law, biblical law, but they turned it into a rule. And that doesn't say that you can't heal anybody on the Sabbath. I mean, that's just not there. But the religious people said, "Oh, picking up your bed and walking, that's work. So you're violating the law." See the rule? The rule was on top of the law. They made a rule out of it, a tradition out of it. And according to their rules and traditions, picking up your sleeping mat and walking more than a few paces was work, and it was a disobedience to the command. And by their rules and traditions, they had the right, by the way, to stone that man to death by their rules and traditions. Because he had worked on the Sabbath, the religious leaders could literally pick up rocks and stone him to death if he had wanted to. I always thought, man, wouldn't that have been a bummer? 38 years, you're crippled, you can't walk. Jesus heals you, you get up, and boom, they stone you to death. What a way, it's not fair. Come on. But they could have, by their own rules and traditions, they could have stoned him to death. But get this, since Jesus healed a man on the Sabbath, he apparently worked also on that holy day according to their rules and traditions, and so he should have been put to death also. And that was one of the things that motivated them to kill Jesus, was that he was violating their rules and traditions. They completely missed the prophetic truth from Isaiah in Isaiah 35, when Isaiah gave this prophecy. "They shall see the glory of the Lord, the majesty of our God. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who have an anxious heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance and with the recompense of God. He will come and save you. The eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap like a deer, and the tongue of the mute sing for joy." They forgot that because of their rules and regulations, their traditions. Your ministry is to be very much, your life ministry is to be very much like Jesus' ministry. Radical. It's not about the rules and traditions. It's about what God wants to do. Not about what you think you should do or the way you think you should do it, but what God wants to do. It's not about having to follow the norms or the protocol. I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't follow a whole lot of norms or protocol in this class. Why? Because it'll kill it. It's not about rules and traditions and regulations. It isn't about that. It's about just simply being open to what it is that God wants to do in and through your life at any given moment, including now, including today. Don't put that off. God said, I made you for today. I made today for you. God's up to something. He wants to do something in your life today. And it's not about what other people will think or what I think or what you think. It's about what God wants to do. You've heard me talking about the difference between probability thinking and possibility thinking. Probability thinking would say that this invalid man was probably going to spend the rest of his life waiting for a miracle to happen. Possibility thinking says that this situation is right for God to reveal himself and accomplish his will. His will, by the way, that existed millions of years before this happened. When Jesus walked into that portico and saw that invalid man there, he walked into a plan that had been set up millions of years ago. When Jesus walked in and asked the man, do you want to be healed? That was part of what was designed and planned millions of years ago. And when Jesus said, get up and walk, it was by design from millions of years ago. It wasn't something that just happened all of a sudden. It was, oh, while I'm here, I think I'll heal you. It wasn't that at all. It was by design. Let me tell you something. God has a design for your life that he planned millions of years ago. He has a point and a purpose that he wants to accomplish. And it's not just in the future, it's today. Today that he wants to do that in your life. Today was made for you. You were made for today, according to Psalm 139. When Jesus showed up at the pool of Bethesda that day, he was just putting into motion what had been planned millions of years before. What is God getting ready to show and do in your life that he planned millions of years ago? What's he getting ready to do? What is God getting ready to do in your life today that he planned millions of years ago? Live radically because God does. Think radically because God does. Move radically because God does. I'm not going to finish the other 2 points today. I'll pick them up next Sunday. But I want you to leave with this simple understanding. God has called you. He has designed you. He has destined you to live radically. And when you don't do it, you're succumbing to the rules and traditions that you put on yourself or that other people put on you. And you limit your life. God has designed you. He made you with there was an awesome reverence when he made you. He made you by design, and he made you with a destiny. Trust me, it was radical. Let's pray.